Happy Saturday, Miami Dolphins fans. This is Dolphins Today by Chat Sports. I am your host, Nic Rohloff. And on today's show, we are doing a Dolphins roster outlook. After the initial 53-man roster was revealed on Tuesday, there has been some changes. Players placed on IR, some players claimed, added back to the active roster. I wanted to go back through it and kind of get my grade and thoughts on every single position group. But before we do that, I want to make sure you're subscribed because we are putting out daily content and we're going to lock in for the regular season, being live for every single Miami Dolphins game. But also, we are 50 subscribers away from a monthly channel record. It's the last day of August here, the 31st. So hit that sub button. Let's make history. We need 50 subs or more. Let's do it. All right, we'll start with the quarterbacks. Nothing changed here. They still have only two on the active roster. Tua Tagovailoa and Skylar Thompson are your two quarterbacks. They did add Tim Boyle to the practice squad, so those are your three quarterbacks in the building of Miami, but I don't expect Boyle to really ever be elevated for game day. I think they trust Tua to stay healthy, and if he does somehow get hurt, Skylar Thompson is trusted to be the QB2 for better or for worse. I would have went out there to try to grab another quarterback like Tyler Huntley or something like that, but he ended up signing back with the Baltimore Ravens. Surprise, surprise. But I actually give the quarterback room a B+. Now, you can say whatever you want about Tua and Skylar Thompson and wanting to add a third quarterback. I do want to add a third quarterback that is actually trustworthy or add a better backup, if you will. But with this quarterback room, it's just a solid B+. I think Tua is a top 12, top 15 quarterback in the National Football League. I believe he's going to be able to have a really good season once again in year 3 with Coach McDaniel. I believe in Tua. I know not everyone does, but if he stays healthy, plays another 17 games, as Dan Orlovsky said, you don't luck into leading the league in passing yards a year ago. I expect him to have another good season. I trust the quarterback room. The running back room for the Miami Dolphins is as elite as it gets. Raheem Mostert, Achane, Jaylen Wright, the rookie from Tennessee. And then you also have Jeff Wilson Jr. as your RB4 and Alec Ingold as your fullback. This running back room has the perfect blend of speed, quickness, pass catching, pass protection, which will only allow the Dolphins to have a more dynamic and layered offense. It's not just going to be the passing game with Tyreek Hill, Jaylen Waddle, and Tua Tagovailoa. No, they're going to lean on these running backs, and after drafting Jaylen Wright in the 4th round of the NFL draft, that trio of Raheem Mostert, Achane, and Jaylen Wright is going to be the best running back trio in the National Football League this upcoming season. Which is why I grade this running back room at an A+. This is the best part of the Dolphins roster. And is it the best to have your running backs be your best part? Maybe not, but it is fun to know that these running backs are going to be locked and loaded and ready to go. I know last season the running backs were a little bit of an annoyance because there was a lot of injuries. Mostert missed the end of last season. Achane only played in 11 games, and you had to rely on a lot of no-name guys like Salvin Ahmed, Chris Brooks at the end of that season and in that postseason game against the Kansas City Chiefs. But I believe they are going to be more healthy this year because they are going to be able to take the workload off of these guys. The ability to have 4 running backs that Miami does, specifically the top 3 of Jaylen Wright, Achane, and Mostert, instead of having to work 1 or 2 of them so much where they get injured and nicked up throughout the season, no, you're going to be able to play the 3 of them in spots, in situations, in down and distances to keep their legs more fresh, keep them from being injured. It is going to be a committee running back room. And I know fantasy football people might not be so happy about that, but as a pure Miami Dolphins football fan, it is going to lead to better results and better health for this running back room. I think it's the best running back room in all of football, not just in Miami and their depth chart, but the best depth chart of running backs in all of the NFL. I give it an A+. How confident are you in the Miami Dolphins roster? Scale it 1 to 10 for me down in the comment section. I do truly believe this roster is loaded from top to bottom. Maybe there's a little bit of a issue at wide receiver, but either way, how confident are you? Let me know. Wide receiver here coming up. Wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2. Very, very good. Rest of that, it's a little bit dicey, right? You got Tyreek Hill, you got Jaylen Waddle, the best wide receiver duo in the National Football League, without a question, in my opinion. Malik Washington is probably our wide receiver 3 alongside Braxton Berrios, and then the man they claimed from Green Bay in DuBose. But the reason why I grade this at a B, which I have said all offseason long, I think the best three parts of this roster, running back, corner, wide receiver. Well, I no longer put wide receiver in that realm or even above other positions due to the injuries. Now, are we going to revisit this potentially in week 7, week 8 when they're fully healthy with OBJ and River Craycraft? Probably. And I'll have a different opinion on this wide receiver room, assuming Tyreek Hill and Jaylen Waddle are still healthy. But with OBJ and Craycraft missing the first 4 games, this wide receiver room is loaded with their top 2 guys, but the depth 3 through 5 is not great, which is why I graded out as a B. And it actually does concern me a little bit for the first 4 games of the season. They're going to have to go to a lot of 2 tight end sets and a lot of 2 running back sets to kind of mitigate the inability to go 3 deep at wide receiver and feel confident. Speaking of those tight ends, I'm a big fan, man. Jonnu Smith, Durham Smythe, Julian Hill, and Tanner Connor are your 4 tight ends. I am extremely happy that Jonnu Smith is a Miami Dolphin. And he is the reason why I actually grade this Dolphins depth chart tight end room at B+, on a different level than the wide receivers, on par with the quarterbacks. I believe Jonnu Smith is going to be one of the biggest difference makers in the entire NFL that transition teams this offseason. I think he's going to get work in quick screen passes at the tight end position, pop passes, jet sweeps, running across the motion as a lead blocker. Jonnu Smith is going to be one of the biggest surprises in the NFL. He is also going to be one of the better tight ends, one of the best guys with the ball in his hands after getting the catch. I think he's going to have a lot of targets from Tua over the middle of the field. I am extremely excited to see this tight end room work. And when you have Durham Smythe and Julian Hill as your 2 and 3, I think that's going to work out pretty well. Offensive line, one that we can't feel that confident about. Teron Armstead, Robert Jones, Aaron Brewer, Liam Eichenberg, and Austin Jackson are your starting front 5 if Aaron Brewer is able to go in week 1 against Jacksonville. If not, likely going to start Liam Eichenberg at center and Lester Cotton at right guard, which could be a little bit of a disaster. I give this a C-, and we'll rank every single position group on this Dolphins team at the end of today's episode, but spoiler alert, offensive line is the absolute worst part of this team. I graded it a C-. Your 2 bookend tackles save this room. Your left tackle, right tackle combo, I think is top half in the NFL. You could maybe argue top 10. With Armstead being as good as he is, and if he could just stay healthy for a full 17, that would be terrific. And then Austin Jackson improving last year at right tackle. But that interior, man, left guard, center, right guard, is really ugly, and it brings it down. We talked about the top 10 potentially left tackle, right tackle duo. If you combine the interior offensive line of the Miami Dolphins, I'd be willing to bet it's bottom 5 in the National Football League. We'll get over to the defense here in just a second, but with the season starting in almost a week, make sure you're representing the Dolphins on game days with whatever jersey you want to rep, whether it be a Tua Tagovailoa white jersey, a Tyreek Hill aqua jersey, Jaylen Waddle, Jalen Phillips, Jalen Ramsey, Bradley Chubb. It does not matter. Just make sure you are representing the Fins the right way with a jersey. Chatsports.com/Dolphins jersey is the link. I'm going to throw that in the description and comments for all of you. Pick up your jersey today, and if you order it today, you might even get it before kickoff on Sunday. I'd shift over to the defensive line now. Obviously, no Christian Wilkins this year. That's a little bit of a tough loss for Miami. But I believe they are going to be able to just be fine with Zach Sealer taking another step forward. Listen, he had double-digit sacks last season. You add a veteran in Calais Campbell, who has been one of the best defensive linemen in the NFL over the past 15 years. I do think he's still got some left in the tank. 6'6", big boy. He's going to eat up some space in the middle of that defense and get after the pass or the quarterback a little bit as well. Benito Jones, Deshaun Hand, and Brandon Pillai fill out this group. I'm not going to come out here and say it's some elite defensive line room, but I do give it a B-. It doesn't get into that C category for me. I graded out pretty solid. I think Campbell and Zach Sealer are going to be really good, man. Campbell was a big-time signing late in the offseason, which is why before he was signed, we talked about him being a target for the Fins so often, is because we needed a second defensive lineman, and they went out and got the best one available when they made that signing in, what was it, May or June? I can't remember exactly, but it was a big-time signing, and if they didn't have him, I don't know where this room would be at, but I'm giving it a B- right now. Linebackers, we're combining edges and inside linebackers. Obviously, no Bradley Chubb. He's still on the PUP list, which means he's out at minimum the first 4 games of the season. Same thing with Cam Brown. But they're going to have to rely a lot on the rookies to generate pass rush. Jalen Phillips and Agba, your veterans, but then rookies Chop Robinson and Mohamed Kamara are your 3 and 4 pass rushers. I'm a lot more in line to believe that the inside linebacker room is better with Jordan Brooks, David Long Jr., Anthony Walker Jr., and then you also have Duke Riley and Channing Tindall as well. I love the linebackers. If you just talk about all 10 guys that we just showed on screen, I grade it as a B+. You could split them up into edge and inside linebacker. I combined them. One of the strongest groups in this team because of how good they can be complementary of each other. Decent pass rush, decent pass coverage, decent run stopping ability. I like this linebacking room from edge to inside. What position group are you most confident in? Let me know. I think it's running back. That's why I gave it an A+, which is the number 1 group on the team. But you let me know your thoughts on the matter down in the comment section. You could answer with cornerbacks, who are also a very solid room for Miami. Jalen Ramsey and Kendall Fuller are your starting boundary corners, with Kader Kohou manning the nickel. But the depth is where it becomes even more evident that this room is really good. Ethan Bonner, who is reported that teams tried to trade for before roster cutdown day. Miami said no, 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 no. Storm Duck, the UDFA, made the squad. And Saran Neal is your backup nickel in all likelihood, with Cam Smith, the second-round pick from 2023, being on the IR and missing the first 4 games of the season. I give this an A. I think it's the second best room on this Dolphins roster. Your 2 starting boundary corners might be the second best or third best duo in the NFL. It's really between Miami, Seattle with Tyreek Hill and Devon Witherspoon, and then New York Jets with Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed, but Miami is right there. And then you throw in the depth. I believe in Bonner. I think Duck can make plays in spot situations. And when Cam Smith comes back from injury, I'll be intrigued to see if Miami rolls with 7 corners or they cut someone else on this team, because I like all 6 corners for Miami, and I like them to stick around long term. I give them an A. Finish it out with a couple more here with the safety and special teams. Safety, Javon Holland, Jordan Poyer, 2 starters. Elijah Campbell and Marcus May are your 3rd and 4th safeties after Patrick McMorris was placed on IR. He is going to miss the first 4 games, the 6th rounder out of Cal. Give this room a B+. I think your 2 starters could easily be A- territory, because Javon Holland, Jordan Poyer are really, really good, and I can't wait to see them work in tandem. But I'm a little skeptical of their depth in Marcus May and Elijah Campbell. I think May had a really good preseason, so I don't hate him as 3rd safety. But Elijah Campbell, I don't really trust him that much if he has to play on game days, but let's hope he doesn't have to. Rounded up with the special teams department, Jason Sanders and Jake Bailey is your kicker and punter. The one difference from when we filmed our 53-man roster announcement on Tuesday is Blake Ferguson. He initially was waived, but then was re-signed to the active roster yesterday, or 2 days ago, I should say, on Thursday, when they placed Patrick McMorris on IR, brought him back. I give it a B+. I think Sanders is one of the better kickers in the NFL. We know how good he can be from 50-plus yards. Jake Bailey, I don't know, not my favorite punter in the NFL, but he's serviceable. And then Ferguson, I'm glad he's back on this team because he's a valued member of this special teams unit. So as we go through all 10 position groups for the Miami Dolphins, this is how it ended up stacking up between my grades, and then with position groups that had the same grade, I then ranked them from there. Running backs and cornerbacks are your best 2 groups, in my opinion. I think when OBJ comes back and he's fully healthy, I think wide receiver will slide back up into number 3. But right now I have linebackers, tight ends, quarterbacks, safeties going through 6, wide receiver at 7, the special teams unit at 8, defensive line at 9, and then offensive line being that worst group on this team. I think that's a fair ranking. I think running backs and corners are your top 2 without a question. But like I said earlier, let me know which group you have the most confidence in. And make sure you are subscribed to the channel, because even though it's Labor Day weekend, we're dropping videos every single day. And anytime big-time major Dolphins news drops, we will have you covered with a video. So subscribe, turn on those notifications, and I'll see you tomorrow with another vid. Go Fins.